Welcome to the ABCs of Revelation. I'm John Barty, and my wife Lisa is assisting us. And we're going to discuss 3 hours that will change the world. This current study today is chapter 13 of Revelation, focuses on the mid-trib, and of the A, B, and C points, it is the middle point of the 7 years, point B. We're going to pick up from where we left off last week. So this is dealing with, right here on this slide, verses 9 and 10. If anyone has an ear, let them hear. Whenever you see that in Scripture, it means really pay attention, since what follows is important. If anyone is to be taken captive, in other words, a future action during the tribulation, to captivity he will go. If anyone is slain with a sword he must be slain. Here is the endurance, the call for endurance of the saints. You can compare that to Matthew Olivet discourse that Jesus had in 24:13, but the one who endures to the end shall be saved. I think the gist of this here is that during the tribulation, when the Antichrist comes to power, if you are caught, then escape will be pretty much impossible, and your end is going to be death. It says by the sword, although I wouldn't rule out other means. I don't believe this necessarily means Islam, although of the last few decades, Islam and beheading has become the focus. For all the thousands of years before that occurrence in recent history, no one believed that Muslims would be it. The false prophet. We're going to move on to verses 11 through 14. And the false prophet is one of the two main characters. We have the Antichrist, and the other character is the false prophet. And then I saw another beast rising out of the earth. It had 2 horns like a lamb, and it spoke like a dragon. Remember, the dragon is always a reference to Satan. And here it spoke like a lamb. In other words, it in some way appeared to present itself as a lamb, harmless, innocent, possibly religious person, but in reality it was a disguise. The false prophet appears to be a holy man, but his speech is of the devil. The dragon is the one who is actually controlling him and telling him what to do. This false prophet exercises all the authority of the first beast. The first beast is a reference to Antichrist, and in its presence he makes the earth and the inhabitants worship the first beast, the Antichrist, whose mortal wound was healed. So that's key right there. So Antichrist is going to suffer a mortal wound. In John 10:10, Jesus states that only God has the power over life and the ability to resurrect. So this is in some way trickery, the appearance of resurrection, but not a true resurrection. Verse 13, it performs great signs, even making fire to come down from heaven to the earth in front of people. I believe the only 2 witnesses before these beasts will be the 2 witnesses, since anyone else will be killed for their witness, and the 144,000 are not mentioned here. This is very much like Moses before the court of Pharaoh in Exodus chapter 7 through chapter 9, where Jannes and Jambres had powers to duplicate the miracles of Moses to an extent. They couldn't do it all, but they could emulate with satanic powers some of the miracles in some way. And by the signs that it is allowed to work in the presence of the beast, it deceives those who dwell on the earth dwellers, I call them. These are not believing people. Telling them to make an image of the beast that was wounded by the sword and yet lived. I believe this image, icon, In the Greek, it's in English our word icon, an exact express image. I believe it's a clone, and it would be the first time probably in history where it's revealed that a clone of a human was made. And so Satan will inhabit that clone, and that clone is the beast, because it's called the beast because of the fact that the beast has no human spirit, has no godly spirit. Only God can give spirit and life. The devil cannot do it, but the devil and demons can inhabit and can enter into, as Judas, the case of Judas, where Satan entered into Judas, it says in the gospel. Verse 15 through 17, and it was allowed to give breath to the image. That word in the Greek is spirit. So breath is spirit, ruach in the Old Testament Hebrew. It gave spirit to the clone, see the icon, the image. So that makes sense that that a spirit of some kind has to be given to this clone so that it as a beast can appear to be a viable human being. So that the image of the beast, again the clone, so that the clone of the beast might even speak and might cause those who would not worship the image of the beast to be slain. It's very possible that the beast and the clone image also has an accompanying device, a computerized automaton, who knows what technology by that time, which is an exact likeness of the Antichrist beast. And I would not rule that out. I think the beast reference applies to the clone. It also applies to the economic and religious system. It applies to the Antichrist. It applies also in some way to the false prophets. So the use of image and beast has to be interpreted by the context and by understanding modern technology. Also, it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand of the forehead. So the right hand is a normal procedure, but if someone does not have a hand, then they're going to mark that person on the forehead. Verse 17, so that no one can buy or sell unless he has the mark, that is the name of the beast or the number of its name. So that could be an appositive, which means one thing describes the other. So it could be that the name of the beast and the number are both integral in the identification. The name and marker are essentially the same, where one is visible. Remember, during the Nazis, they had a swastika on people's lapels or on their armbands or whatever. So that was the outward sign. They didn't have the technology we have today. So now we have the technology with the digital angel, the implanted chip under someone's skin to have an identifier that's picked up in other ways, plus a visible sign. So at a distance, you could tell if somebody belongs to the Antichrist, and when you scan them, you can tell pretty much everything about them. Verse 18, and this calls for wisdom. Let the one who has understanding, and I render that, calculate the number of the beast. For it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Calculate the number is a translation in modern terms. Could be a use of a computer to identify and register as data, because the numbers that are in the digital device implanted will identify you. It is the number of a man or an individual person. It doesn't say it's the number of the beast. It doesn't say it's the number of men. It's the number of a man. In other words, every man will have this identifying number. 666 is a numbering scheme for tracking people, and it's going to be linked to the digital currency. Bitcoin is just one of many forerunners. The governments of Russia, China, and even our own government are trying to implement a digital currency. That's how you're going to control buying and selling. You have to have the identifying mark, and then you have to be linked into the computer system to buy and sell by your identifier. I call it the social integration number, or SIN. Like our SSN, except it will include all objects and beings in the world. A new thing that we have going on now is the Internet of Things, sometimes called IoT. It can accommodate 1 trillion objects, human, non-human, and things. In other words, anything in our universe can be given an identifying number. The word in the Greek is charagma, and it's like a universal person code, I call it. So there is the UPC we have now for universal product code, but it's going to morph into including people. People are objects in this system. So it's a universal person code and product code. It's going to contain all the information about your object or your person. And it may not be a particular identifier like we see here, but you can see that such a mark, a barcode, which is on all of our products now, can be extended to include everything, including people. So our identifying mark for our Social Security number is like 999999999. So it's in groups of 3. I believe that the 666 refers to 3 groups of 6 digits each, like I have at the top there. And it's easily accommodated. This example of a barcode I found here is one that can contain the 18 digits, 666. 6 and 6 is 12, plus 6 is 18. All the digits represented by 9s there add up to 18 digits, and you can see there are 18 digits represented by the barcode. So the social integration number, like our SSN, will be expected to include all objects and beings in the world. It can accommodate 1 trillion objects, and it is going to be the mark, I believe. It seems evident since I'm in the computer business. I understand what's going on in that relevant realm, and most certainly makes sense to me. Charagma, I just want to give you the background here from the Greek. It can mean many things. That is the word. So when you see mark in the Revelation writings, it talks about the mark or a mark. It's really talking about this Greek word, and you can see here that it can mean a stamp, an engraving, an etching, an imprinting, a banding. In other words, anything that is used to identify someone that has to be given to a person that is identifiable. So my interpretation is well within the meaning of this Greek word. And that's our lesson for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we will continue teaching the Revelation till Jesus comes. Come quickly, Lord Jesus.